This is the Kawartha Small Business Podcast, where we believe the Kawarthas can be the most thriving region in Canada for small business. I am Brian Rump from Profit Coach,
And I'm Matt Garrity of Matty G Digital.
and today we are talking about why not here. And our sponsor is Starting Point Digital Marketing. Your business knows you need to be doing digital marketing. You need to be online, but you're not sure where to start. So check out Starting Point. They have intentionally simple marketing designed just for you so that you can get started with digital marketing. Check them out at startingpointdigitalmarketing.ca. All right, Matt, why not here? This episode is one I've been wanting to do, and we tie in a lot of these things. But we believe the Kawarthas can be the most thriving region in Canada for small business, that you can be successful here. And I wanted to talk about this because I find that in entrepreneur land, there's this perception that you must leave here to be successful. You have to go to Silicon Valley, you have to go to Toronto, you have to go somewhere else to really be successful. And I just think that you shouldn't have to leave to be successful. Like, why not here? Like,
Yeah, I've always wondered why, and I am guilty of this, and I'm trying really hard once I became aware of it to no longer compare Kawartha Lakes to quote big cities where we talk about, oh, like working in Toronto would be better or it's different. And then wondering, why do we think that way? Why do we not think Kawartha Lakes can be as thriving as a business center as Toronto or Vancouver, Montreal? You said like Silicon Valley, Tokyo, whatever. Like, but why do we always have this notion around Kawartha Lakes that we can be like Kawartha successful or Kawartha's famous, but like, why can't we be more than that?
yeah, and I think it probably it's a historical. I think there's always been different centers of business for different types of things, and yeah, we're not going to have a big giant car plant show up because there's just some economic system reasons for that. But in terms of being a thriving place to start and grow a business, so many businesses are global now. You can literally work from a laptop anywhere that has internet. So why not here? Like, why do you need to pick up and leave to be considered successful? We could be world class right here.
Do you think it's exclusive to Kawartha Lakes, or do you think that it's maybe a lot or many rural towns and cities outside of like your big metropolises?
I think it's everywhere, really. Like, I think a lot of small towns have the attitude. Cultural theory, which is completely unproven, is it does go back to like a British colonialism ideal or an ideal of hierarchy of like, oh, you're from this town and it's socially better than maybe another town. So it's like, oh, so and so is a lawyer in Toronto is a very different sort of brag than like so and so's a lawyer in Fenland Falls, for example. Whereas, you know, in Fenland Falls, I met somebody who was like one of Canada's most famous human rights lawyers. Right? You never know it from looking at them, but you can really do it from anywhere. You might be traveling, but I think there is an idea that success happens elsewhere sometimes.
Yeah, and like I grew up in Whitby and spent most of my life still in Durham region. And there was always the sense when we were kids or teenagers of like wanting to go to Toronto or can't wait to get out of Whitby and go somewhere where it's so much better. And I remember even when I was a kid thinking, what's wrong with this? Like Whitby, it's great, it's booming. What is it there in Toronto that there's not in Whitby? Maybe in your late teens and early 20s, If you're going out a lot, there's bars open, hundreds of bars open every night until 2 plus in the morning, and 24-hour restaurants and diners, whatever, that might not be in Whitby, but there's every restaurant under the moon there. And it's similar to Kawartha Lakes. I think, if anything, there's an opportunity here. And we've talked about opportunities many times where there's a lot of great, thriving businesses here. There's a lot of gaps in the market of things that we would want here that aren't here, that might be in Peterborough, but they're not in Lindsay, or they're in Lindsay and they're not in Bobcaygeon or whatever. And there's so much opportunity for that. And I honestly think my experience here in talking to other people, other business owners, is that the community of business owners in Lindsay specifically, I find it to be extremely encouraging and helpful to each other. I don't know if
Oh yeah,
everyone's had that experience, but I've very much had that experience where there is a culture there of wanting to kind of help even competitors succeed and to do better for all of us.
yeah, and I think that's where you can succeed. There is work to be done here. I think it's difficult. I know one of the other sort of why not here's is sometimes people will start getting traction in their business and they immediately start looking for customers somewhere else. And they don't really do a good job of serving the area first, partly because they think, hey, there's no real businesses here
Mm.
until they start really looking. And I think that happens a little bit. I think, we've talked before on this podcast. I teach a lot of international students,
Mm.
and oftentimes they just don't know much about the area and they think, oh, there's no businesses or jobs here. We have to go to Toronto to work. And then later, some of them find out, like, actually, there's a lot of opportunities here. There's like thousands of businesses that are all looking to hire people and grow. And when you dig in, there's a lot of world class businesses in their industry who do work all over the world from here. So, like, why not more of those?
It's a desirable area. It's Is it cottage country or is that Muskoka's?
I think we're in between a bit. We're close enough to the city. We have cottages. I think it is the like country lifestyle a bit more, but you're not like really far out in the boonies. So, um, I mean, I hate using the whole we compete on our lifestyle and this quality of life because literally everybody does that in like Canada, even in Toronto. Like downtown Toronto is pretty awesome. Some people want to escape it, but some people love it for them. So we can have a really good quality of life here, and you can build a business that does business all over the world if you want.
Yeah. And it's a desirable place for people around here, along Durham, along the 401, Toronto, west of here for vacation. I think that's one of the most special parts about living up here, in my opinion, has been the fact that we're like 20, 30 minutes away from places that people will spend all year planning to come to. So
Yeah.
Glenland Falls, Bobcaygeon, etc. Like we'll just get up on a whim and be able to drive there in 20, 30 minutes one time. And there's people that will spend an entire year preparing for like a fun vacation with their kids to go to these like fun cottage country type of places. And I think we're very fortunate about that. And I think that we really take that for granted because we're here all the time.
Oh yeah, I definitely remember on, when I lived right in Fenland, stressful days, thinking, when I get home within 5 minutes, I could be at the beach, like with my dog, going for a walk and just feel like I'm in vacation mode. And, now I live a little bit further out, but I'm still like, I'm 8 minutes away from being at a beautiful lake that people spend a lot of money to live on and come to, um, which I think is really important. And I think there are areas that are like that, like Silicon Valley would be the same. Beautiful weather, beautiful place for people to live who like to do outdoor activities and that type of thing. So we have all of that stuff here. So there's really no reason why, we can't be thriving here, or you can't build your global business from here.
Yeah, when we first moved up here, I was very excited to move into the country. And I thought it was like a good start for us to move into the country in Lindsay because like there's everything up here. It's like you're in the country and it's beautiful all around you and lakes and all these things that I mentioned, but we're 5 minutes away from Big Box Alley on Kent Street and just like hundreds of great little artisan hipster shops all over Lindsay, really, and it gives you like the best of both worlds, really. So
Yeah, and I think it's going to get better. I think the one barrier, if we have it, is internet speed and consistency.
yes.
But I do think that that's getting better. I think there are ways to get around that. So I could see how that limits some people and their business ideals. But, um, I think it's a great spot to, work from anywhere. You could be a professional. If you are especially working from home, like you can work here and work for people anywhere in the world. Just yesterday, actually, I booked a meeting with a company that's international, so on the complete other side of the world. And immediately we got a response back from the person we're meeting with, who's like, I actually live 20 minutes away from your office if you want to do this meeting in person, which is insane because I was expecting, somebody who is like on complete opposite hours for us and somewhere else, but they're right down the road, living the dream here, which is pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
like, those opportunities are there. Like, you don't have to leave.
Oh, it's a global workforce now. I'm more than half of the people that I work with now are local, and that was like a goal, like a business goal of mine when I started to have it to be that way. But I have, and I still work with people in Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, LA, Florida, New York, Chicago. I don't know if I've ever spoken to anyone overseas. I feel like Australia is ringing a bell, but like I've never had any issue with that. And especially if you're a service based business, honestly, if you're a product based business, then what time is it now? 12 minutes in. If you can market properly, you can sell your product from Kawartha Lakes to anywhere in the world if you have the proper marketing strategy and plan set up. So I did want to ask you, to actually give an answer as to why not here. And the only thing I could think of, not to just agree with you for the sake of it, but it's the internet issue. I don't know enough about the details. People think that because I'm in digital marketing, I know a ton about computers and I'm really techie. I have no idea about any of this stuff. Uh, Internet's always an issue. It's been an issue for me since I've been working in my basement for going on 3 years now. The first summer that I was here running my own business, there was at least a month where I couldn't get on the internet for multiple hours a day. I'm a very passive person. So it took me like a good month before I called someone to complain, and not even complain, just be like, "Hey, what's going on? I don't have internet. I'm trying to run a business." And they're like, "Oh yeah, your technology is obsolete now." I'm like, that's great. Thanks for telling me. I would like to upgrade to the proper technology. And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be a couple months." So I spent my entire summer, not even really kidding, in boiling over working from there. And it was great, but even then, like, there's still issues of having to like scramble and find a different work location and all that kind of stuff. And it was since fixed, and it's been good, very good. It was a massive upgrade, and I could tell it took like 3 months to get there, though. And even now on this call, I don't know how much you know, but this internet, I've not heard a quarter of the things that you've said on this
Yeah,
podcast. And
let's
you're
hope
just
our
constantly
listeners can
cutting
hear
out.
it.
So I don't know about the technical side of stuff. My understanding, like I've heard Schmel talking about, I might not pronounce that right, and I'm very sorry, but like I understand that like they're doing their best to bring up some better quality internet up here. I'm all for that. I will advocate hard for that. I'm happy to get on any boards or be in discussions to talk about getting better internet services up here.
Yeah, I hate to burst your bubble, but you already have the thing they're talking about. They're just trying to get what you have to more people. But the PR works, right? And you like the idea of it. So uh, that's that. The one thing I wanted to just touch on, um, we've this isn't a huge exhaustive topic. I think it gives people something to think about. But when you listed off sort of the cities of people you've worked with, and like I've recently done some projects with somebody in LA, and like you've done something in LA, and like, why is that like a bigger brag than like, hey, I did business with someone in Bobcaygeon? And I think um, naturally people are like, oh, you're more successful, LA. But if you actually look at those projects, you probably had more impact with like a business in Bobcaygeon and maybe did better work. But there is just that natural somewhere else is better. And I think that's, we're not solving it with this podcast, that attitude. But I think for me, it's something to really think about. And that's sort of the why not here?
Yeah. There's a lot of notoriety, of course, about those big cities, and it's cool. And then like we're city name dropping, and I'll tread lightly here, but I don't like working with a lot of people and businesses in those cities. I will take them most of the time. I'm trying to rack my brain really quick. But like I hate working with people in Vancouver. It's terrible. Always, there's a certain personality. It never works out for me. The LA project was meh. Chicago people were cool. Florida people were cool. The New York people, I was shocked how cool they were. I thought they were going to be a pain in my butt. That was like a really quick kind of project. Me and you have worked together and currently are with some people in Calgary. They're lovely. They're just like you would think that they're from Kawartha. Very warm and welcoming and cottage country type of personalities. Um, I, and the people Toronto is a different beast as well. Like I don't like working with a lot of businesses in Toronto. More often than not, like anytime I get an opportunity, it's like, do I really want to work with this? I almost know how this is going to end. And then you get greedy and you're like, okay, let's just take the money and see how this goes. And then I'll regret that in a couple months. But it happened yesterday. People were lovely that I was chatting with, but the questions are always different. The attitudes are different. They're talking about things that, in my opinion, like, just don't matter, and I don't really care about. And like, there's just like a different maybe level, or just like a different whereabouts of what they're talking about in those bigger cities. I much rather work with the businesses in Kawartha Lakes. I'm not saying that. I've said that to you 100 times personally. I can have way more impact with those people because maybe it's because of a competition thing though. Maybe it's because a lot of the stuff up here from a marketing perspective is not good. But
yeah, yeah, awesome. I think this is interesting to think about. Again, we're not solving it today, but I think it's a good seed to plant, and really, would challenge listeners to think about, next time you give more social weight to like success somewhere else, just think about like, is that really better, or like, why not here? Like, why can't we be the leader? Why can't people come here to seek their success? And I think that's part of, something we want to work towards building over the next, 10, 20, 30 years, is to really show that this region can be the most thriving for small businesses in Canada. All right. Any other thoughts, Matt, before we wrap this one up?
no, I fully agree with you. I've had people all the time like, oh, you should like go move out here and do like you can work from wherever you want. I'm like, I don't want that. I want to live here. I love living here. I think there's so much opportunity here, personally and professionally. You're the one that put this quote in my mind, but like I want to continue to put down roots here for the rest of my life and not leave it. I want to make a legacy here, and I want this. I want the Kawartha Lakes to be the most thriving business community in Canada.
Awesome. All right. Well, if you're on board with us, reach out, send us an email, set it up at kawarthasmallbusinesspodcast.ca.